Hi everyone, thanks for this episode of Nick Egan Times. In this episode, we have a sensational, inspiring, and legendary guest. We have the multi-talented athlete and former Olympian Bill Schuffenhauer. Bill is a United States three-time Olympian, silver medalist, and motivational speaker. Bill has achieved remarkable success despite an unbelievably challenging upbringing growing up to defy all the odds. Bill has an incredible story of inspiration of how he overcame significant adversity growing up to become a three-time Olympian and to have won a silver medal not only for himself but his nation at the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, United States. Welcome to the multi-talented Bill, and thanks for coming on the podcast.
Awesome, Nick. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Super excited anytime we get to share stories with each other and the people that may follow us. It's always a pleasure to do so.
100%. Definitely looking forward to it. All right. Firstly, how's it all been going over there?
You know what? Life is really good. One of the things on top of all the things that you talked about, I'm a partner in 13 companies, 13 global companies worldwide. A lot of it has to do in the technology space, and I'm in the middle of navigating a couple of pretty big technology deals. So life is good, wife is good, family's good, business is good. I've got zero complaints in life.
Wonderful. That is wonderful. All right, let's jump straight into it. Take us back. Tell us about, obviously you had a tough upbringing in your early childhood, I guess, in your life. Explain that to me, your background, and I guess how it transpired. I guess you got the momentum into where you got to.
Yeah, so it is what it is. I started off with parents that lived the street life, right? They were drug addicts, they partied, in and out of the legal system, dealt drugs, you name it. That was part of my architecture of life as a kid, and that's what I was exposed to. So I grew up with that, thinking that was normal life. Living on and off the streets, not having food to eat, seeing violence, 17 foster homes, getting in trouble with the law myself. And at a young age, I just realized that I wanted something more for myself. I thought more with the end in mind, that one day I was going to want to have a family and provide for them. And one day I was going to, want to do different things that I just didn't have any exposure to as a kid. And so at a young age, seventh grade, I just made a choice to start like researching and looking into like what is possible for me, even as a seventh grade kid, right? What is possible? And I just didn't want to provide my family in the future with the same lifestyle that I was being provided by my mom. And I really believed that there was something better out there for myself. And through that, I started getting involved with talking to, teachers and coaches and family members and just being curious. That's literally kind of wraps up my entire life, is that I'm always curious to what's possible for myself or anyone else. And came to the conclusion that there was something better on the other side of the fence. There was opportunities, there was a future for me outside of growing up, like, with how my mom, led us through the life. And, I'm not here to talk negatively about her. She did the very best that she could with the tools and resources she had. But I just realized at a young age that we live in this omnipotent universe, that anything is possible. And I wanted to find out what that was for myself. And so I got, at a young age, got involved with school first, because if my grades weren't good, then I couldn't do the other things. So got really interested in what school really meant for someone like myself. Got involved with athletics because I was really good at running from cops and jumping fences. So it was a natural progression. Once I got a taste of what it was like to be on the team, I really just looked at the past of what I was exposed to and said, I'm never going back to that. I'm never going back to that chaotic life of drugs, alcohol, street life, gangs, in trouble with the law, courts, and all that stuff. And getting involved with athletics, it's like there's almost, there's a lot of opportunities in sports, but I'm a true believer that like getting involved with athletics is like the foundation of community and culture and support and true athletics. And I really, really, really enjoyed that camaraderie in sport, and like, having to set goals and reach for those goals and come up with a plan on how you're going to achieve that. And I just really, really embraced that and just was like, I'm not looking back. I love this, and I loved competition more than anything, man. I love a good competition. In anything nowadays, it's just really fun to have that friendly competition with other people, whether it's business, sports, what have you. And just through the years, just became really curious in how other people create success in their life. And one of the first things that I learned outside of goal setting and things like that was to don't allow excuses to define my life. And so I just tried, throughout my life and my careers to not allow any excuses in my architecture of life. And if I didn't know the answer for something, or if I couldn't do it at the time, go back to that being curious and asking questions all the time. And, for me, that was like the catapult for me to really step away by choice from that lifestyle of getting in trouble all the time and so on and so on. So, that was like the foundation of where I started for myself, and a kid not knowing like what the big world had to offer. Even though I didn't know what it had to offer, I knew it had something better than what I was exposed to, and just found passion in that and went after it.
That's truly inspiring. It's remarkable. How do you think you gained the resilience? Because you need to have obviously a lot of resilience. There's going to be a lot of adversity. Yeah, how did you gain that, or how did you get that? Because it's not many people have that too. It's hard to actually have, right?
Yeah. It honestly goes back to the comment I made about not making excuses in life. Typically, no fault to other people, but we tend to make a lot of excuses for our situations, right? And we miss out on the opportunity to say, you know what? For me, I was going through a very difficult life as a kid, and realized that was actually a strength, right? Going through all that hard stuff was very, very difficult, and realizing that I've already been through some hard things, right? And I could utilize that is like encouragement to tell myself I can do harder things in life as I go along. And so, that resilience started off with getting involved with sports, but utilizing my past as a tool to turn a negative into a positive. And when you align yourself too with the right people, that definitely helps out a lot. I have a lot of clients that I coach, from individuals to Fortune 100 executives around the world, and we sometimes tend to isolate ourselves and not reach out for help. And I'm a true believer that we're put on this earth to support one another and be of service to one another. And another thing I learned at a young age, and through those things and through that support and through realizing and being accountable to yourself, that really just helped me build that resilience in everything I do. And instead of looking at like negative situations as quote unquote negative to like hold me down, I look at it and I welcome it as an opportunity to get better at what I do.
Incredible. Tell me about the story of how you transitioned from athletics to how you actually went to the Olympics to win a silver medal. That's truly remarkable.
Yeah, so for the people who are watching, I started off in athletics, Americans, track and field, just to clarify for them. And I was ranked top 5 in the world in the decathlon. And for those who don't know, decathlon's composed of 10 sports, 5 one day, 5 the next day. You combine your totals to come up with the score. But that was supposed to be the goal. That was supposed to be the thing that everybody knew that Billy was pursuing: the Summer Olympics, 2000 Sydney Games. And it is what it is. We all have different stories and different paths, and it's all about what we learn from those stories and paths on how we level up ourselves. And it was in a lot of people's minds, including my mind, getting ready for the Sydney Olympics was a done deal. I qualified, I was top 5 in the world. And all I had to do was go out there and perform just like I had time over and make the Olympic team, go to Sydney and potentially win an Olympic medal. Well, that's not what happened. Obviously, that's why we're here having this conversation. I 2 weeks before Olympic trials, I blew my ankle out during the long jump of a decathlon. And we kind of went into a little bit of a panic mode when that injury happened. And of course, we called the trainers to kind of tape up my ankle and numb it up to see if we could keep going. And we just did more damage. And the reality is we should have just stopped right when the injury happened, went and did some rehab to get ready for Olympic trials. But it is what it is. We went into panic mode. It was a really bad situation. But then when we realized when I realized that I wasn't going to make the team because my injury is severe enough, I couldn't move on. I wasn't going to be ready now for the Olympic trials in 2 weeks from the time we had the injury. And I was really defeated. I mean, I went home, I was in tears, I was depressed, I was turned into an alcoholic, felt sorry for myself. I was fortunate enough to have just amazing people that surrounded me, from coaches to family to friends and all that stuff. And somebody got wind of the Olympics happening in Salt Lake City, and I was approached by friends. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you should try the bobsled at the next Olympics." And I was like, first off, what is bobsled? And second, what are the Winter Olympics? Because I had no idea. My mindset was 100% Summer Olympics athletics. And long story short, we just all got together, my coaches and some family and friends, some strategic people, and just said, "Hey, there's a sport called bobsled. Here's the movie Cool Runnings. Watch it so you can know what it is." I watched Cool Runnings. And then after I watched Cool Runnings, I had an opportunity to watch Team USA competing over in St. Moritz, Switzerland. And that's when I was realized the athleticism it took to be a bobsleigh athlete. And, we were like, you know what? The Olympics are 1 year and 3 months away. Now, the reality is most athletes won't switch sports into a sport they've never done, never even knew, and make it a team, especially at Olympic level. But we just had the mindset of why not? What do we have to lose, right? We've been training hard. We're in great shape. Little work on the mindset from the injury of not making Olympic trials, but that was easy. And then we said, what if? What if we really did pull this off and made the Olympic team, and we could create the story of this kid who grew up on the streets of Salt Lake City and turned his life around to make the Olympics in Salt Lake City? And we're like, man, that would be a good story and maybe a movie someday. Let's just go for it and see what happens, right? Let's just go for it. And, I really try to really push that home because, I do a lot of research when I do talks or I'm in business, and you're not, several years ago, I came to the conclusion through research that 98% of all humans, 8.1 billion people on this planet, fail to take any actions on their dreams. And that only leaves 2% of us that do. And so, I wanted to be part of that 2%. And I didn't want to look back and say, oh, I had an opportunity to do this. I should have done it, or I could have done it, or I would have done it. We just said, hey, why not? It's an opportunity. Let's just go for it and see what happens. And if we don't make it, we don't make it. There was zero expectation from anyone else, right? And so we went for it. And, the first team I made was a lower level, US team. They were probably ranked maybe 5th or 6th in the USA, no global ranking whatsoever. And I was with that team, and we went to America's Cup and won gold in 2-man and 4-man, and came to the America's Cup in Calgary and won gold and in both 2-man and 4-man again. And that's when I just really realized how I really enjoyed the sport first and foremost. Is like, going to an amusement park. I just continued on that path of staying focused and learning from the athletes and learning from the coaches. So how I could figure out how to take my athletic ability in athletics or track and field, and how do I, make it happen in the bobsled. And, again, we were just like, just go for it, see what happens. And, probably throughout that year and a half, I had Team USA 1, 2, and 3 always knocking at my door, like, come with us. But I was pretty loyal to my team until we got closer to Olympic trials, and my team hadn't qualified yet. We were having, some issues with like equipment that hadn't come in yet. And so the chances of that team making the Olympics was getting slimmer and slimmer every day. And at the same time, I had Team USA 1 approach me and say, hey, listen, we have an opportunity for you because we're the #1 ranked team in the world, that we can bring on a team alternate, right? So we want to offer that to you. We've been watching you. We watch your athleticism. We watch how focused you are. You're a student of the sport, and you would probably be the best fit for our team. And the reality is, Nick, that pissed off a lot of other athletes who've been in the sport for a long time, right? The new guy shows up, makes it on the Olympic team as an alternate. But, I obviously I agreed to it after talking to my team. They gave me their blessing. And, I got my first berth into the Olympics as an alternate. And, I was carrying bags for the guys and taking care of their stuff and just being the donkey of the team. But I didn't care, right? I was on an Olympic team as an alternate. And, as time went by, my bobsled driver, Todd Hayes, on this team, basically said, hey, listen, a lot of coaches are mad. A lot of athletes are mad that we chose you because you haven't been here. We weren't going to plan on competing in the trials, but we want to prove a point that you were the right choice. So I jumped in and went from being an alternate to an actual body on the sled. And we dominated at the Olympic trials. We beat everybody in 2-man, destroyed everybody in 4-man. And that kind of gave like clarity to the rest of the team and the coaches, like, yeah, he's the right guy. But I was still an alternate because there was, we didn't lose anybody. We just wanted to prove a point. So, getting ready for the 2002 Olympics, yes, there was a bunch of media, like, the local boy made the team and it was all amazing, but I was still an alternate. And fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, for me, fortunately, one of the athletes on that team got kicked off the Olympic team for taking a banned substance that he didn't know about, sadly enough. And that skyrocketed me into his position to actually compete with the team at the 2002 games. And, you couldn't have asked for a better script than that to work out the way it did with the timeline that we had of a year and a half. And, then we go on to compete at the Olympics, and Team USA had not won an Olympic medal in the games in 46 years. And obviously we come away with winning the first Olympic medal in the silver, and then Team USA 2 wins the bronze, and, massive celebration. But it was, kind of a feather in the cap, if you will, on the, the thought process back when we said, hey, let's try this and give it a shot. We got nothing to lose, to now we're standing on the podium at home in Salt Lake City in front of family and friends that know me and have known me for years, waving, the American flag and holding up that Olympic medal. And so it's just amazing and a blessing to be part of that and be a part of history.
That's incredible. It should be a movie. Like, you literally have a script there for this being a movie. Like, it's remarkable. Describe in detail, I guess, the feeling of being on the podium, especially looking back at the adversity and everything you had gone through to reach that. That's basically the pinnacle, and that's the achievement in essence, I guess, of getting the medal. What was that feeling like? Can you describe it? Like, that must have been just incredible.
Yeah, Nick, it's a question I get asked all the time. What was it like to stand on the podium in front of your hometown, literally blocks away from where you were homeless. And I don't even have words to like describe, other than it was the one of, next to my kids being born, it was the most amazing feeling and the most amazing accomplishment that I've ever had in my life. And, you know, at the same time too, it just, in my head, I was just like, it goes to show you, with the right mindset and the right people around you and goals and strategic, you know, planning and so on, that we can accomplish anything we want in life. And again, as long as we get rid of the egos and get rid of the excuses in life, the only people that are stopping us from achieving what we want is ourselves. So sometimes we've got to get out of our own way and then have that opportunity to stand up and not only represent your country, but represent your family and your friends that are out in the crowd and cheering you on and holding up signs and telling you, you know, there were signs in the crowd from my family and friends say, dreams, I told you dreams do come true. And you know, it is what it is. I was in tears, man. Like, I was in absolute tears of joy standing up there and realizing that this dream, this goal that we had accomplished was so big. And it wasn't just about me. It was about everyone else who was there to support the goal and the dream. And you know, it hasn't gotten stale at all. And we're 20 plus years later, you know.
That's tremendous, it's inspiring. Yeah, it's amazing. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
You know, it's funny because that's a question people always ask, and there's not one single best piece of advice. There's a multitude. If I were to say, you know, things that, there's so many that resonate with me, and I've created a lot of my own quotes, but at the end of the day, when we take 100% accountability for our own life, anything's possible, right? And I say that because a lot of times as human beings, we want to point the finger and not take the blame for situations or what have you. But you know, I've found throughout my life in both sports, relationships, and business that I take 100% accountability for everything. And when I do that, then I have more of an ability to really control the outcome that I want, right? And, you know, I work with Jack Canfield on a regular basis. For those that don't know, he's the creator of all the Soup for Your Soul books. And, you know, he taught me that, you know, E plus R equals O. You have an events in life, you know, plus your reaction or your response, you can then dictate the outcome the way you want to. And the more we can take that accountability and respond to life as opposed to react to life, you know, that's going to go a long ways. And just realizing that, you know, everyone lives in their own little life architecture that we're responsible for building. And we can either build it by default or we can build it by design. And, you know, I just encourage everyone out there to, you know, self-reflect on where they're at in life and what they've done. And if they're not in a place where they really, really want to be, you know, it's just about taking accountability and decluttering those negative things out of your life and rebuild it with the intention that it's being rebuilt by design, right? Because we a lot of us have a lot of things in our life that don't serve us, and that can be people, places, things, practices. And if they're not serving you, then let's just go ahead and get rid of those because they're not helping you out, right? But again, that really starts with that accountability piece. So
Yeah, awesome. What do you want your legacy to be? When you look back, well, yeah, what do you want your legacy to look like?
man, it's continually growing every day, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, I want that legacy to be, you know, I want people to look back and see a young kid who started off in this world with absolutely no tools, no resources, no hope, and found a way to create his own life by design, right? And did that through being accountable, being of service to others. That, I mean, honestly, those are my biggest ones: being accountable and being of service to others. And when I take accountability for everything in my life, and then I provide service to the people around me that, you know, either want it or ask for it, everything comes back to me, tenfold. And I don't need to be known as the richest guy or the guy that has the most companies or any of that stuff. I wanted to realize that against all odds, which funny enough, I have a documentary, I don't know if you've seen it, Nick, that against all odds, I was able to create everything that I wanted in my life and for my family and for my friends and for nonprofits that I'm passionate about, and did it in a way with integrity.
Awesome. What inspires you daily too?
Say that one more time.
What inspires you daily?
Oh man, a lot of it still is the same, right? Like right now, most of my life is comprised of doing a lot of business meetings, business deals, and I have team members on all these companies that I'm working with, and at the end of the day, if I could play a part and I could play a role in helping them succeed, then that's exciting for me. And it is what it is. I'm a huge fan of that. Again, I'll say it until blue in the face, but again, when I get to be of service to help somebody out with what they're doing, and in some cases help solve some of their biggest issues that they're dealing with in life, I love doing that. I love getting up and helping people out. And again, it is not about me, because I figured out my equation in life, again, and I've said it several times, is the more I am of service to others, the more that everything I want and or need is returned to me on massive scale, right? And then I love the whole competition of business. I love it. Like I love, tomorrow I'm flying out to negotiate a potentially multi-billion-dollar deal, and I'm absolutely 100% confident I'll come home with that agreement in my hand and move on, and that's fun. And it's more than just the money. It's also what I can actually do with that money, and what others that are involved in this deal can do with the money, and being involved with nonprofits, helping to educate our humanity, and build schools and all those different things, right? Because at the end of the day, how much money do we really need, right, to live our life in a healthy way? So just getting up every day and the challenges that life has to offer, and I think that's the biggest difference of, when you talk to a lot of people, like I look at challenges as opportunities in life to create. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, that's a hurdle. Like, what do I do? And I'm like, oh man, let's put more hurdles up there, because the more hurdles I have, the more it's an opportunity for me to learn and after everyone I go over to, right? So, again, so the inspiration is my family first and foremost, and what I can do to support them through the ventures that I'm involved with, and then like people within our companies, and then the nonprofits and all that stuff.
That's marvelous. Thank you for sharing. Okay, if you were 18 again and you could change back, if you could go back in time, you could change anything personally or professionally, what would you change?
Nothing. Not a single thing. And it's funny, because I've had this question asked a lot of times, and I've had years to think about it, but everything that's happened in my life, everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, the amazing, the absolutely disasters, have all led me to this space that I'm in right now, right? And again, the difference is I've chosen to use any of those things that most people would see as negatives as opportunities to learn and grow, right? And I'm talking about some really dark stuff that has happened in my career, that when I came out on the other end, I was so much better of another human being, that it just helped me level up again and again and again. So I wouldn't change anything, even though some of that stuff sucked and it wasn't fun. It just helped me find out that I could be a better person and a bigger person than I ever thought I could be.
Thanks for sharing. Bill, thank you for coming on the podcast. I do appreciate it. It's incredible what you've done. It's incredible now, especially what you're talking about with the business world. Yeah, it's remarkable. You're an inspiration. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
Oh man, thanks Nicholas for you and I connecting. And this is what it's all about. People like you and I, creating opportunities and messages for other people to understand what really is possible. And I've been one of those guys, and many times I've been in a really dark place and I didn't really see what's possible. And now that I've been able to overcome all that stuff, I have an opportunity to stand before people like this and say, you know what? This is an omnipotent world, and whatever you want to happen, it is possible. It's sometimes harder than, some situations, but we can create, and we can create on a massive level, and just do what we want. So thank you.
Definitely, I couldn't agree more. Well said. Thank you.